Yeah, hi guys. We're waiting for Hemendra and Vijay to join the Zoom call, and then we'll start.
Sure.
Hi, Anju, can we start from you? And meanwhile, other panelists can join, and then uh, by that time, probably we can try your speech.
Yeah. Um, just give me 2 minutes, Anu.
Sure.
How are you? Yeah. Just give me 2 minutes.
Sure, sure.
Are you okay? You're looking a little tense.
Me?
Ah.
No, no, I'm okay.
आवाज आ रही है इसमें? हाँ, आ रही सर। हाँ भैया नो हाँ आवाज नहीं आ रही बहुत धीरे है एक सेकंड
Can you hear me?
1 मिनट थोड़ा बड़ा दो yeah. So Anu, there is another session empowering her.
Mm-hmm.
So that is in our PC room. So,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. So I think you can take care. You can be your own, or you want me to be there for 2 minutes, there is no problem. But there is another parallel session is going on empowering her. Future is empowering her.
Maybe meanwhile you can mute, and once the session is finished, you can join, and or at the end maybe you can give on closing note.
You can be your own. There is another parallel session is going on empowering her. Future is empowering her.
Maybe meanwhile you can mute, and once the session is finished, you can join, and or at the end maybe you can give on closing note.
Tell me when to start, Anu.
Yeah. Can you mute the alumni office? Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, hi, Anju. We can start from your introduction. So what I know about you is you are running Wind Green Farms, and there are a lot of products I have been reading about. Like I went through your LinkedIn profile and I saw that there are many products you guys are working upon. So it would be really nice to know from your on experience. You have been in the industry from years now, and you have been in other industries also. So overall, your experience would like to hear from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Anu. Hi, Kunal.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you. So, Windgreen's Farms, I'll tell you how we started on the farming bit of it first, so that you get an idea. Of course, we're a processed food company largely, and we make dips, we make herbs, we make chips. Now we're also into spices, seasonings, and a whole load of other products. All our products are more or less farm derived. So how we think is what we can do farm forwards.
Okay.
We don't grow everything that we use in our production, but our aim is to backward integrate and get down to doing that and work with farmers.
Mhm.
So how did we begin? So my husband and I actually were in the US and we came back because we wanted to add more meaning to our lives and do something more meaningful in our own country. And one day we bought a house in a slight distance from Gurgaon, and that house we bought on loan, and we were trying to get it done up, and it didn't have much of a garden. It's a 350 square yard plot, but whatever little garden, I thought, I grew up in Mumbai, so that was also a lot for me, and wanted to do it up. There were a lot of Malis around this area, and I realized that they were, quite short of money and short of, work. So one day while talking to them, because I saw the panic in them continuously for a long time, I asked them what do they do, where are they from, and essentially figured that they were farmers.
Okay.
And all of them owned farmland. And I started talking to them and asking them, like, what is it that your farmland costs today? Now, in doing that, it sounds very simple, but I think that's the difference. Like, I had about 30 odd years of experience in marketing and advertising. So, the first thing that we typically think of when we talk to someone is like, what is the kind of investment they're making, what is the returns they get, why are they doing well, etc. Whereas it became clear to me that farmers never necessarily think that way. So I was surprised to note that one person said that his farmland was worth around 1.5 crores an acre, and he was still poor. And another person, his farmland was just a little further away, was worth about 20 lakhs an acre, but he had about 4 5 acres of land. And there was a third person out there whose farmland was worth 8 crores an acre. So right from 10 crores, I mean, it's 10 lakhs to 8 crores is where we hit upon what farmland is worth. And I just tried to understand that why are these people still poor? If they have wealth, why is it that they were still trying to get their dehadi from being a Mali? Why is it that they were not able to make the money? And that hit me majorly. And even today, I often wonder that has anyone done a survey of what is the market value of farmland in India? And really, how much wealth do our farmers actually possess versus what they really require is liquidity?
Correct.
Why I wanted to and was happy to come on to this session is to really urge people who are professionals to come in and partner with farmers so that we could make more use of this partnership and get more value out of the land. And that's the fundamental place where Wingreens began, albeit we're still doing it in a very small way. But those little models that we have created, the pilots we have created, have shown us a lot of promise. And I genuinely feel if more and more professionals, people from the IITs, from the IIMs come in with that clarity, that don't feel sad for anybody. Understand, India is a huge resource in farmland. It has amongst the highest arable land, amount of arable land in the world. It has the largest, among the largest numbers of farmers, people. But farmers have lost their excitement. They have lost their passion for farming, many of them. And the reason is they're growing the same crops day in and day out for, you know, generations on end. We're not saying that start doing something different overnight and suddenly transform everything. What we did was we rented land. We told the farmer that we will rent your land. So a farmer who owns 16 acres of land, we rented 2.5 acres from him. Another farmer who owns about 15 acres, we said we'll rent about 4 acres from you. So like that, we rented land, gave him a certain rent which made him safe. We told him we're very happy to employ anyone in your family who wants to work with us as a coordinator for our project. And that gave them additional income. Today, whether it's a 2 crore piece of per acre piece of land or a 2 lakh per acre piece of land, it's very strange, but in most of the cases, they both generate the same amount of money. They both, for instance, will grow wheat and they both will get about 60,000 rupees a year, and they both will have a net income of under 25,000 or so per year. Now, the farmer, if he was to put 2 crores into a bank account, it would fetch him an interest, which is about 8 lakh rupees per annum.
Yeah.
And what he's doing with that land is he's still running around trying to find other work to do. He's given this piece of land mostly to someone on Bata or Mutta, a landless laborer who runs this land, and he cultivates it, and he has to part with half the proceeds. So what's left from this 25-30,000 for the farmer is half, and half for the landless laborer who can barely sustain himself. So that is the context of agriculture, and that is not understanding what is the value of the land. So you're not understanding the basic resource you are working with, and therefore you're not respecting what more I can make from it, which today a farmer is tired. He is under so many embargoes, under so many limitations, under so many, he can't think beyond growing what he is growing. But if professionals come in, give him some security. So we rented the land. Rent was a security. Gave people his family employment to be managers, and sometimes they even worked on the farm. They got wages. Now suddenly an acre of land or 3 acres of land was fetching them about 30 to 40,000 rupees a month from 25,000 rupees a year, because we did, then the onus was on us to make use of that land and do something with it. When we started growing, I mean, the sky was the limit. We started growing herbs, which didn't have a big market in India, but we thought we'd do something different. We grew 150 different types of herbs, vegetables, and flowers over 5 years on that piece of land. We started by potting them and selling them in supermarkets and malls, which was a business that couldn't scale, but it did very well because people, we realized, were really happy to receive fresh produce. This was living produce, growing produce. So we brought fascination of agriculture to India. And that's why I feel now we have so many new farmer entrepreneurs who have come up.
Yeah.
And, there's an excitement or romance come back. Then we realized if this can't scale, it was essential to attach processing. So I'm just giving you the model: renting the land, paying wages to people in the farmer's family. From there, selling the produce as fresh as possible. Next is going to the mandi, selling whatever else is possible. Then what is left? So where does the farmer lose out? The farmer can sell fresh produce. So there are people who will offer him marketing solutions that we'll come and buy your produce and we will take it to market. But what about the produce that is rejected? That is where the farmer is going down again. So what we decided is we're going to process that produce. So rejected produce actually gets us a better value than produce which is accepted by the stores or by the market. So it's not bad produce, but it is not necessarily good looking produce. So when you look at all the problems that farmers can face down the value chain, we try and solve all those problems in a very simplistic way. We are still creating models, small models, but we're trying to make them bigger and bigger with time. But we're really documenting the processes down, and hopefully one day we'll be able to, take them to market. But I really feel that India is a gold mine in terms of potential if people use their professional minds, sensibly and come forward. Of course, there are a lot else happening in agriculture which I should not and cannot comment on, except to say that I think the freedom of choice is always a good freedom. And, I would strongly support something like that. So long as it doesn't become exploitative, where we need to put certain conditions and ensure it doesn't become jumping from the frying pan into a fire situation.
Okay, sorry to cut you off, but I think, yeah, Vijay Siddhana is joining. So I think you can also participate in the panel since you have a good, rich experience in farming, interacting with the farmers, and then whatever you are talking about the land value and so I think you can also you should also participate in the panel so that we can make out a good decision. And
Sure, sure. Please.
yeah, so we can go one by one. So we can probably have questions so that we start with the discussion. So I would like to introduce all of them to you to all people. So first, I would like to go from Hemendra. So Hemendra is graduated from IMA and he has been in agri industry from almost like 25 years now. And I know him from a session he was moderating in like this. He has been mentoring me actually investing into venture partner in Bharat Innovation Fund and has a good experience of agriculture overall. And then moving forward to Kunal, so he is one of our team members and who has been working in multiple startups. Here he worked in Shuttle, which is a logistics startup, and from 1.5 years he is working in AgroWave. And he's specifically working with farmers in rural areas. He's building mobile pickup stations from where we receive fresh farmers and we're building such centers and currently we have 2 centers. Then going to Mr. Donna. So I don't know much about him, but he is very well known in the corporate world in terms of policy making and giving his opinion in terms of about policies and all. He worked in the government also. So it's a mixed panel where we are having different kind of experience to make the decision. Maybe we can start from Hemendra about agricultural investment, how the pattern has been in agri-tech investment, how it look like as far as your experience, what do you see, how the investment will be there in agriculture, what impact it will create on the farmer's life, and all those things.
Thanks, Anu, and thanks to IIT Delhi for this opportunity. So to your specific question, Anu, in terms of the status of investments in AgTech, ag innovations, if I can call them. So it's been an interesting times. This was one of the sectors which hardly attracted investors' attention a few years back, but over the last 3 to 4 years, we have seen an inflection point, and we are seeing more and more money coming into the sector, which is a very positive sign. If I give you a number, over the last 10 years, the whole agri-tech sector has attracted about $2 billion worth of investments. But interestingly, 2/3 of that has gone into the front end, the distribution side of the food supply chain, and about $600 million in the upstream part, which is closer to farms, right? And out of that $600 million, $300 million has come in the last year itself. So you can see a huge jump last year. And this year, despite being a COVID year, we saw about 25 deals attracting another $300 million. So I think that's a positive sign. And I see that rate going to something like $500 million from next year onwards. And I think it's a matter of time. We can see $1 billion annual investment in agri-tech in next few years. And I'm very confident over between 2020 to 2030, we will have somewhere between $8 to $10 billion into the sector. So which is a very positive sign. And I'm hopeful we'll have a successful exit in another 2 to 3 years, which hopefully will push the trajectory up. So that's on the investment side. In terms of the key themes that we see, which are emerging, which probably will attract capital also. One is what Anju talked about in terms of building farm to fork market linkage models. I think that's one which is catching up. There are multiple variants. One is, of course, what you are doing at AgroWave, essentially building supply chain for fresh produce. But we are seeing models which are focused on staples. There are models which are focused on more staples and fresh produce. The common element is that most of the supply chain, which are sort of, the new age supply chains, they're mostly demand driven, tech enabled, and essentially disintermediating the whole supply chain. As we know, there are 7 to 8 intermediaries between farmer to consumer. What these new age models are doing, essentially compressing the supply chain, disintermediating the whole supply chain, and building application of technology on demand aggregation, on inventory management, route optimization, things like that. So I think that's the one which has attracted maximum amount of capital. I'm sure that will continue to attract a lot of capital. The second theme is around agri input e-commerce, which is building supply chain, which is essentially from factory to farm, supplying agri inputs, seeds, fertilizers, machinery, agrochemicals directly to farmers. I think that is another big area where likes of AgroStar, Big Heart, Gramophone, there are at least a couple of dozen startups which are trying to build this direct to farm model. I think the common element there is it's more like a prescriptive selling. You collect a lot of data from the farm about soil health, about hyperlocal weather parameters, about plant health, etc., and build a sort of prescription for farmers. And it essentially translates into optimization of input cost. The impact on farm economics that I have seen in this model, that farmer is able to save something between 15 to 25% of the input cost, which is substantial, particularly if you look at smallholder farmers, where he earns about 120,000 rupees a year. So I think that is another big theme which will witness scale, which will witness a lot of interest from the investors. The third, which I am very bullish on, is agri fintech. I think we all know 70% of our farmers don't have access to institutional credit, and they pay a huge amount of interest costs, ranging between 24% to 60% per annum. That's very, very high cost of capital, right? Yeah. How do we build that, bring that cost down? I think that is where agri fintech models will evolve, which is essentially models around farmer onboarding, KYC, mitigation, and all the way to loan recovery, right? So I think that can really transform the crop loan, the way we see it under priority sector lending. And a lot of public sector banks are coming forward and trying to experiment with the models which are evolving right now. And likewise, I see huge amount of intervention which can happen on the post-harvest side. The post-harvest credit is only $5 to $7 billion, which is like a drop in the ocean given the opportunity. So I think that will also transform with more and more digitization that we are seeing on the warehousing side and the processing side. So I think these are the top three most areas for me which will evolve and attract more capital. Of course, there are other areas like mechanization, novel farming systems like hydroponics, aquaponics. I think that will also see a lot of applications, and a lot of entrepreneurs are actually experimenting their hands at that. So that could be another area. And last but not the least, a lot of models around data advisory for farmers. I think the technology exists. There are applications of satellite imagery, drones, sensors, IoTs, spectrometry, smartphones, and most of the entrepreneurs are trying to develop their algorithms and machine learning models to help farmer make a decision, and not just farmers. It's the value chain members. I think the tech exists, but I think the business models are yet to evolve to make it make it scalable at a very, very large scale, because subscription as a way to go to as a way to scale is still is evolving, and I think it will take lot of time for business models to evolve and establish. I think it will be B2B2F, business to farmer, that will probably scale faster than direct to farm as far as data and advisory is concerned. But overall, I think in terms of impact on farmers, we have seen 15 to 25% reduction in cost of inputs, 30% additional income. We have seen farmers saving on their interest costs. We are seeing farmer getting access to insurance products, which conventionally are very sort of difficult in a farming environment. So I think multiple applications, and of course there are a lot of startups focusing on livestock and things like that. I think that could be another element of innovation which can impact their livelihoods in a positive manner. So probably I'll pause here and get into the discussion later on. So thank you. And thank you.
Yes, sure. Then, since we now have the idea of the investment, how it has been in the past and how it would be in future, predictions in terms of at least how we are predicting it and how we're seeing it. Now I would like to ask Kunal, what are the challenges on ground, which like we talk a lot about the future, the investment, the technology and all. But when you work really with the farmers on ground, what are the challenges and how do you see them resolving on a larger scale? And in future, how do you see these issues are getting resolved through technology or through large money or through corporate involvement or maybe policy reforms or whatever it could be? So then over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Anu and IIT Delhi for letting me speak. What are the challenges these farmers are facing? Basically, the major factor that is there is to gain the trust of the farmers, because they don't trust anyone. They are like, if any company people are going there, they'll be coming to harass them, because this old age system is there of these RTRs. They are very much flexible working with them, because they used to get any number of credit amount from these RTRs and all. They don't have to give any collateral for that, because so these kind of things are very challenging when you work directly with farmers. They don't trust any outsiders coming to their home, to their villages and giving produce to them. Plus, as Anjuji has already mentioned, they're not that much advanced, so that they can also plan things or get the knowledge of what else they can grow on their farms. They are doing traditionally. If one farmer is growing wheat, then he's growing wheat at the same time of the year. Similarly, of the vegetables as well. When we go and tell them that you can grow some other crops like broccoli or capsicum or some exotic items which can help them to earn more, but they're not willing to do that, because they are like, who will get these things from us, because they are only dependent on the current mandis only. And the major concern of them is they don't know what price they will get for these products, because the price fluctuation in the mandi, nobody knows what will be the price of their product for the next day. So these are the major challenges which we are facing while interacting them, while making them comfortable to work with the corporates, that we are there to help them only so that we can save them from the fluctuations of the rates of mandis. So majorly, this is the biggest challenge which I have faced while working with the farmers.
Okay, and how do you plan to resolve them? Like, what are the solutions which companies are building, like Agrowave and other companies, which are still?
So what we are building is, we are setting up MPSs nearby to their farms, so that they can come to those. They don't have to go to mandis. They can come to those centers and provide their produce to us, and we'll be giving them the payments at the time and that will be a flat price of their product. It's not that they are dependent on these traders and RTRs, that whatever customer will ask, they have to provide to that price only. And instead, we are giving them, if you want to sell your produce at this price, we can get it from your farms only. You don't have to go to mandi, because what their daily schedule is, they have to harvest in the day night, and after that they have to take those produce to the mandis at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4, and they have to stay there with the traders till the time all their produce gets sold, because they cannot trust whatever these RTRs will tell them. So that is the major concern, and that is what we want to make their lives better. That we can get the produce from your place only. We don't want you to go to mandi and sell your produce by yourself, and even in that process, you are giving some commission to RTRs as well. So we want to remove that thing, and what we are doing is basically we are giving them flat price, and we are picking the produce from the nearby points. These what we have told is MPSs we are building.
Okay. And moving to Vijay Sardana, so we would like to get opinion about, so since Kunal is talking about the trust with the farmers, when we actually go on ground, it's really difficult to build trust with them, since they have been working in a very traditional system from so long, so years with these people, artis and other people in the chain. So when you talk about the technology, when you talk about your models, it's really hard for them to accept at a very initial stage, because psychologically they have been practicing these methods from years now, and suddenly you ask them to change the process, and so it takes a lot of time. Maybe you have to do things a little bit differently. So what is your opinion in terms of what are the things which can be implemented on ground, maybe in terms of policy, or maybe in terms of which is a force by the government, which helps other companies or maybe overall ecosystem to build for a larger good, overall, the ecosystem.
Thank you, Anu. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly, loud.
Okay, thank you. Thanks to IIT IIM Alumni Association for giving this opportunity. It's extremely vital subject, because when I was in IIM Ahmedabad, the one single point which all my friends were used to ask me, why you're wasting time in agriculture? Because IT, banking, and all other sectors are more rewarding, more remunerating. So what is there in agriculture when it comes to salary for IIMs? And obviously, that's a given project. Now, that itself shows that how we look at agriculture.
Correct.
It means that we have not looked at agriculture as a potential resource base to build country. Agriculture was always marginalized, even in our thought process, not on ground itself. So that is why I always say that in India, agriculture was more of a political activity, less of an economic activity. And in last 70 years, what we are finding in agriculture is that all the decision making was based on political consideration, not on economic considerations. Yeah. And that is why too much distortion has happened, because every time when the election comes, you look at the next election, means the whole business planning, if I use the jargons of IIMs, that our jargon is that business planning modeling was always to the destination, which is the next election. We never had a long-term plan like 10 years, 15 years, or 30 years plan. So what was happening, as the wind was blowing, political class was throwing their hat into the system to get the votes from the farming community, so that they get to the power, and then we will see what happens after 5 years. So 4 years you enjoy, and just soon before the election, in last 12 months, you take certain decisions like loan waiver and whatever, so that you get another set of vote, and then you relax for another 4 years, and then you decide in the last year. This was a correct way of looking at Indian agriculture till date. Now, what has happened because of this? The whole economic consideration in agriculture was sidelined, and we created agriculture, which was an asset for the society, into a huge liability. And this liability is today visible on streets of India and also on the borders of Delhi. And this has now become, the economic liability is now becoming a political liability. Now, this is the fact. We have to understand agriculture more from a socio-economic angle, not purely from a technology or agriculture or financing or transactions point of view. It means that agriculture is a highly complex because of various reasons. One is diversified agroclimatic conditions, means countrywide you cannot have one formula. Every region will have its own challenges. Literacy level, because again, from absolutely illiterate to the most modern kids you can see in villages, because many of them are also studying abroad and coming back and working with families. So you can see that extreme in both sides. Then you also have seen in last 70 years, repeatedly you have seen the experiences of cheating with the farmers. What Kunal was mentioning is a baggage in their mind that whoever comes, a new guy comes, will only cheat. They are only here to make money at our cost. Nobody is there to help us. And this was repeatedly reinforced by so-called our own acts, both in corporate and outside corporate, when we dishonored our commitments, when we dishonored various things, when we offered a product which never performed or performed below what we were claiming. In advertisement, we claim many things, but it doesn't come to the ground. All these cumulative factor is that there is a huge distrust between a rural segment and an urban segment. Or that's what people in political terms say, Bharat versus India. So Bharat was marginalized and India was prospering, and you never looked at Bharat in a more cohesive manner. This background is very important for us to keep in mind, because when we make any intervention. But you have to keep in mind, I worked with farmers. I started my career as an extension worker in a desert when there was no water. My first assignment was to teach farmers in deserts of India how to grow crop with water. They had never used water ever in lifetime. And today what we are teaching in Punjab and other places, in Telangana and other places, how to conserve water while you are doing cultivation. Just the other way around. In a span of maybe 27 years, 30 years. That's a fact of life. We have to accept. Now with this background, so what was happening and what is happening on ground today? First of all, as Kunal rightly mentioned, there is a huge trust deficit. Number two, we have very distorted production system. We never looked at production system from a market or consumer point of view. We always look at it from a supply side point of view, never a demand side point of view. And that is what Hemant was mentioning, that people are now trying to bring private equity and other things on this, building, you can say, supply chains. Because the whole focus in the last 70 years was only production side. Now, what is happening today and what is the future of India? I divide this into two things. Future of agriculture is bright, but I'm not sure about the future of farmers. They're two different things. And let's not mix two. Agriculture is different, farmers are different. So to whose welfare we are looking at, agriculture or farmer? And that changes the whole equation in politics today and the policy making. Why I'm saying this, land of India today, agriculture land, if I say roughly about 140 million hectares. Our population is 138 crore, or let me simplify by saying that 1,400 million people. Per capita land availability for food production or whatever agriculture activity we do is only 0.1 hectare. With growing population, per capita land availability will shrink. Plus, you have a depleting soil and depleting water. It means you will have more supply side constraint and demand is likely to go up.
Right.
It means, in a commercial sense, price of food is bound to go up. So my way of looking at is that if you are looking into this pricing segment, pricing will increase, means inflation in food will be up, whether we like it or not. And that's why suddenly you will find spike in tomato prices, onion prices, dal prices, and whatever. Slight fluctuation in supply. And then you see inflation is, peeking out from all sides. That's one way of looking at it. Second, the world is looking at India as a market. Nobody's looking at India as a supply base. We may keep talking in various seminars and conferences that India will become a food bowl for the world and whatnot. I doubt, for various reasons. It means a lot of import is likely to go up, and that is why if you look into statistics, that our import growth rate is much faster than export growth. That's a fact of life. Now with this equation, what is the role we have to play as IITians and IIMs? Our role is well defined. We have to use our competency and skills in agriculture, which we never did. Because we never looked at that sector important, because we were more interested in our welfare than welfare of farmers or agriculture, or if I said, or even if it was there, it was incidental, but that was not a priority. Now we have to focus in this sector, otherwise this society will be highly unstable. Crime rates, social instability, political instability, when all these things will happen, economic growth cannot happen. And what is happening in Punjab? You are saying it. The protest of farmers are now hitting the telecom towers. And this is not unusual, because frustrated man will do anything. He does not think that what is right and what is wrong. And that is what we have to keep in mind. So the way of looking forward is that as policymakers, or I will say as intellectuals on management side and technology side, we should detach ourselves for some time from all these, what is happening around, and bring the best practices from wherever we are located in the world, how we can maximize the yield in given challenges in India. I'm not saying that by simply you are saying it will start happening. No. We will have to have a set of options, not one or two, maybe 20 options, which has to be tried. I did this thing with the farmers of Punjab, 70,000 acres in Punjab, when I shifted them from wheat to oilseed. And the single driving factor is only one thing. To win a trust of farmer is single point. Will you make more money or not? Any other thing, you tell him it is a good technology, climate will be saved, water will be saved, pollution will be less. He cares a damn about it. He says, where is my share in the game?
Yeah.
You show me the money and I'll come to it. And what was our ma'am was saying initially when they were doing in AgroWave, that is the way to look at it. But that's one of the model. Maybe it is good only for in certain segment because of herbals and aromatic or other segments. Every climate needs a different model.
Correct.
Highly diversified, highly complex sector. We need best of the brains to understand this and to take it forward. It's not easy. It's a painful, but it's a very rewarding. A lot of issues to discuss. I'll come back to you when the question session comes to you.
Okay. And so Anju, let's say we most of us are talking about the problems in the existing system, and like whether it's a problem in a model, whether it's a problem of farmer trust, or whether it's a problem we are trying to solve, but people are not able to adapt it. But Anju, what is your opinion in terms of let's say how the future looks like of the farmers? Let's as Vijay said, like there are two different segments. Farmers are different. Like the future of farmers is different, and the future of agriculture is different, because agriculture comes like so many activities, whereas future of farmers would depend more upon how much money they're making from their land or whatever other resources they're having. So, what do you think? What is the future you think that would be coming, or maybe how it looks like in your own opinion, whatever experience you have so far?
I completely, in my experience is very limited compared to Vijay. And I really, really have listened with full attention to what he said. And I completely accept every word of what he said. When I look at it from a ground perspective, I think one of the first things not first thing, but among the things he said was that it's very different in different parts of the country. It's very different with different kind of crops that farmers are growing. And it's become more of a political game than economic game. Economic reality. So what is happening is that as few of us or more and more of us also get onto the ground we are still dealing with very small parts of the farming population. If we can yet continue to do that, at least those areas where we work, we can try and work with the farmers and improve their morale. I would say the morale of the farmer is completely down, at least where I work. He doesn't want to work. I think the biggest problem in India is a farmer doesn't want to be a farmer anymore. He's inherited that land. He is now, whether it is his asset or his shackles, we don't know. We really don't know. Because if he makes more money, then it's an asset. But if it is leading to him just being a political mora, then it's really a shackle. So the future of farmers is up to us in a small way or a big way, I don't know. But I know for a fact that we are going to do our best in the small way that we can help him. And if more people like us come forward and say, we will work on the ground with them, I'll tell you where we have the trust of our farmers. Why do we have the trust? Is because we've stuck around for 12 years. What Vijay said, you just have to stick around and prove it. And if you can prove it to one lot of farmers, then it's really goes like viral. All farmers anywhere will trust you going forward because you have proven yourself as being sincere to one lot of farmers. So really work on that one group. Don't try and work on too many people and try and grow too fast. Win the trust first and then use that as seed to grow more trust. But trust is something the farmers have every reason to lack. So the future is good if more professionals, people who are well-meaning, come onto the ground and work. And the potential is high, so it's no sacrifice. Everyone will gain if they do it the right way. The farmer needs partners. The farmer needs support. His children, my farmer, the first one I worked with told me, he said, ma'am, पता है क्यों मैं आपके साथ काम करना चाहता हूँ? मेरे बच्चों को अच्छी संगत चाहिए. And, this was an area in which they would get married at the age of 9 and 11. And today, his grandchildren, mostly girls, are now being educated. They're in schools. And we've got a great relationship in the villages where we work. So, really, I feel the future is good, but it's really, each one of us can do something to help. Otherwise, they've lost interest. And that's why what Vijay said is, I think, very important. The future of farmers versus the future of agriculture, two different things. The future of agriculture has to pick up because there's so many people who want to eat food. But future of farmers is not a given. That's something we need to help. IIT, IIMs, come forward.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. Ravi sir, would you like to speak something? Are you there? I don't know, maybe the picture is only there. Hello? So, yeah, I mean, it's a good discussion and it's good to know from different people, different opinions. Definitely, we work as a entrepreneur, so we are having experience with the farmers, we are having our own opinion about our own model. So it's good to know from the investment side of it, from policy side of it, and from different 12 years with the farmers in different segments, in different ways. And we are building a model and output supply chain. So yeah, maybe Ravi sir, now would you like to speak something? We can't hear you.
Good moderation. So carry on. Yeah, but since you asked me, so I welcome on behalf of IIT Delhi Alumni Association. I am the current president of IIT Delhi Alumni Association, and there are another session is there parallelly. So with some of the talk I have just listened, especially when you were talking about the whether agriculture, the reform is going to help the economy or the farmer. Some of the issues I heard, but so it's a very and you have spoken something about the I think supply chain also, and it's a good session, and I think a lot of things would have emerged. So I thanks for behalf of IIT Delhi as mentioned to you and your all finalists. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you. Anu.
Thank you.
Another session also. I think those are time. So thanks for being with us. I think he's a young, only
Young moderator.
young moderator. She's just young entrepreneur. So I think she has forgotten to tell you. But yeah, thanks for being with us. And we are just closing this session. Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us, taking the time and sharing your thoughts to the alumni. Thank you, sir.